Swift on the defensive side, and wouldn't be surprised if that Oni, as we said, goes to A6, positions himself to cover from the 5 line, so nobody can peek from the 5 line and shoot them, and DiNG, everybody moving towards the K line.
Total big push from DiNG on a K line. They want to dominate the rail, but Swift is actually destroying everything. They do not want to approach it, and only Grill is covering that line from distance.
Yeah, Grill is going to have to be careful though, as he can land some nice shells, but has to, you know, be cautious of getting shot in return. And as you can see, that Oni is covering, but the Grill here has a little bit of cover to go behind. If Kuriz manages to spot him though, and they get some shells into him.
Kuriz has a lot of experience playing line tanks also, and I remember in the times when you played with tier 8 tanks, you would use AMX12T actually to do that kind of spots, and you go inch by inch and turn on the binos and outspot anyone because of the low silhouette.
Yeah, you've seen Mandax here in that batch just trying to spot across him, but DiNG took control over the 1-2 line, realized there is nothing there. And how do they deal with the Oni? Because the Oni in that position is going to be very hard to dig out that IS-4. Yes, you can penetrate him, but still, you can't come from the 5 line, so you can only fight him head on.
I don't think you can really deal with IS-4 in that way anymore now. This is a pretty sturdy defense. Oni will cover his tracks, and Mikhailov is in position to rest it then. It's going to be a pain for DiNG to do anything to him, so this will come out to probably a push from the 5 line. I would say this is the only correct way to respond to such a threat.
Let's just see here the angle Mikhailov has onto that capture circle, completely covered in reality, so not a real option for DiNG. You can see Breakneck in the bat shot, slowly retaking the hill, making sure there's nobody on there. As
Kuriz taking a big chunk of damage from the Grill.
Oh, and taking another shell here, Kuriz dropping to 25 HP, that bat shot and Grilla combination, absolutely wrecking him. We were saying how he has a lot of experience and gets called out there a little bit, and now on 25 HP, gonna be very hard to cap with him, as any HE shell will be able to kill him.
Interesting turtle by Swift, I will say, even quite an unorthodox one. We've seen something like this done before, but Swift took it to another level with Grill in the garage.
That Grilla, we were saying that he has to be careful, and actually managed to make it work. But what is the final plan here for DiNG? As they should also know that, you know, that IS-4 is in such a strong position, not really something they can deal with moving towards that capture circle, and Kuriz being that low, can't really move on to cap 1 either.
Well, the way I can see this can maybe unfold in a really old school tactic. You can push over the field and try to push simultaneously in a pincer through the 3 and 5 line in the same moment. They can take out Oni for free because there is no one to really challenge them while they're doing that, and then they just have to press with the other tanks and shoot because it's 6 tier 10s then.
That 3-line push though is going to be very risky, as there's a bat shot and that Grilla waiting. The first one that pushes through that 3-line could pretty much die within 10 seconds, but it does seem like they're starting to move towards the 5-line here.
Yeah, but Grilla is not the one who will shoot him. He actually has to come out to the garage to do that. It's kind of a problem, so it's only Batchat from the flank and the heavies in that side, but they will be pushed then in the same moment from the other side, so that can be a problem. But they look actually like they just want to do some free damage altogether from here.
My opinion though, Swift is in pretty good situation right here to deal with this tactic coming out from DiNG here. They have all angles covered for now, and Crespix waiting there as well in that 50B for anybody that might want to peek the corner. Breakneck probably crossing through the 8 line here, trying to spot what's in the window area, and doesn't look like he's doing that for now, but you can just see Breakneck has to be careful doing this. Maraka now driving towards the cap, doesn't get connected by Mikhailov, and that Oni with HE damage actually taking 300 HP away from him.
And Mrakar going to tier 10, he was usually playing the tier 8 for DiNG before, but now with Kuriz, this is a normal thing to go. And there you go, Rode, it was expected that he will be a sacrificial lamb here. Mikhailov still pretty protected by him and high on HP, only people from the front can take him out, but yeah.
Maraka actually outtrading Mikhailov in that IS-4 so far, so Maraka doing a pretty good job there, as Mikhailov does land an ice shell. Kuriz does go down towards Crespix, but still, we'll have to see if Maraka can keep trading this well against the IS-4, as for now he's doing a pretty good job.
It's really not a good thing that Kuriz died, because he could have signaled them the flank and harassed those tanks for free. But now they are forced to push, and they saw that Swift is actually split up and they're pushing all in.
Great push from Mary here in positive, as Atmospheric is going to be the first target for them. Those 50Bs should make quick meat out of him as he takes 2k damage here, and Shockish coming as well with Hulknik in that 1-1-3. They continue pushing, and Swift getting caught off guard here by the push from DiNG. Great push from DiNG.
Kuritz, by dying, he actually saw the split from Swift, and he just gave the order, go full in, and there we go. They're crunching them like one by one.
Mandex in that patch shot still coming around, and DiNG doesn't seem like they're going to be stopping anytime soon. Breakneck still has 2 shells, takes a lot of damage here, has to fall back as Skylax does picking up in that FV, but Mary should be able to deal with him, and Maraka coming around the corner as well. And it's still looking good for DiNG at this point, as Strokish and Hulk are still on full HP, and that batch shot only having 4 shells left. There's not much he can do in this.
It's quite over. The most important tanks of Swift are already down. They don't have a single shooter, constant shooter left. Once these guys even clip out, even if they do full clips, they don't have enough to deal with these tanks.
Yeah, Crespix here has 4 shells, but it won't be enough to deal with Hulknik, and Shockish coming from behind as well, from the front as well with that FE215B. Hulk, I think Shockish actually had Hulk in the back of the turret there, trying to help Crespix to take him down, but
a friendly peck on the
a friendly pat on the shoulder as it is Shockish to pick up Crespix, and it's just Mandax in that batcha with 3 shells, and the entirety from DiNG moving in towards him. They can do whatever they want at this point. Only having 1 shell left in the chamber, and he landed onto Hulk. He can't. He's now on 625 HP, and DiNG will just go onto the cap with 3 guys and close the game.
Definitely. I can say I really actually liked how Swift perceived this game. It was interesting, and I would say they even anticipated what will DiNG play. But the reaction was problem.
The
reaction was
rotation.
problem. The rotation that came actually split them in half, and they were not aware of that.
They should have left Crespix at least with that 1-1-3 of Atmospheric, as 2 single shooters there versus Positive and Meritorious.
They left them open for no real need, because there was no real pressure from DiNG at that moment.
Even Mikhailov though, Maraka out-trading him. In that IS-4, 1-1-3 out-trading him, even though Mikhailov has the better position. Not the best of performances there
I'm actually
either.
interested, why did they even pick IS-4 for that position, since they had only to protect him? Why didn't they take some other tank, like maybe IS-7?
Unsure, we would have to ask them, but that's going to be DiNG picking up their first round of the season here in quite convincing fashion. Creed's dropping low in the beginning, but then the rotation from Swift not really on point there, sending too many guys towards the D-line.
It's
And
not like Koritz is known for his damage dealing abilities in the game. It's his mind that people like him for.
Creed's definitely one of the smartest tacticians I've ever met. It's a real pleasure playing with him. He is extremely smart. He always sees the smart openings, where to push.
He's also bringing a whole new level for DiNG, because his contacts in World of Tanks, training partners, players that he can know and he can bring to play if needed to replace someone, that's really a step up for DiNG.
Mary and Positive in those 50Bs. For 1 second there, I thought it was going to go bad, but then I actually realized how Swift left those 2 guys just to die.
Yeah, it was a major mistake. It was a bad call from whoever is calling shots at the moment there, and they paid the price. But it looked okay and promising in the start, so I would say maybe they can win the winning round.
It does look like they've been prepared for what DiNG brought to them, but DiNG just a little bit better tactically.
Player-wise also, reactions were faster.
Reactions were faster there though. Now, Swift, they seem prepared. Now moving on to the offensive side, it's going to be really hard for them to surprise DiNG, as Koritz. I've always said Koritz thrives the most against teams that handle the same style as him. As we can see some of the highlights here, see the push from DiNG, very, very well played. Just continue pushing it. Yes, Positive. Small mistake here, but still,
They
so
tried
much
to
HP
cover
ahead.
him. They tried to cover him here, but it was a 50B is just too tall tank. You cannot really cover him against anything.
Now, Koritz, always, like I said, I always think he thrives the best against other Russian-style teams, right? The teams that very similar to him. How is Swift going to surprise him? Because I don't think they have it in them to bring something that Koritz can't expect.
They should definitely maybe rewatch some of the Kazna matches, because they're practically only guys that could throw them off guard from time to time with some really weird plays. But standard play, skill by player, I don't think they should try that. I don't think, because as we saw, they're on not there yet. But then again, as I say, the opening they made is promising and interesting, and I think they will have a good season here.
I hope so. Swift, formerly Synergy now with a new lineup. It's a little bit of a honeymoon period. They still have to get used to each other as well in a sense.
It's good for them. Honestly, if they do well in this match, they can really go high. They don't have to necessarily win. They just need to build up some confidence that they're close enough to win. Then they can do a lot against other teams. DiNG and Kazna, at the moment, we know they're the pillars of this league, like you would say Navi and Hellraisers are in CIS.
DiNG and Kazna are favorites for now. Let's take a look at the stats and see exactly how much positive and Mary managed to win those 50 Bs. As you can see here, meritorious, the first one. And in the first 7 spots, it's pretty obvious.
Standard guilty people here, Mary, Positive, Halknik. You would always expect those guys to be in the top by this. You would actually want to see a breakneck there, but I guess that Bachat in the middle of the brawl in a city didn't really fare well in that moment.
There's not much breakneck could do into this, as he can't flank, and he couldn't come from the front either. That Bachat not really having a big effect here. Kurit, not known for his damage ability, not doing any damage either.
Well, it doesn't matter as long as the calls are correct. The other 6 are there to do. Minions are there to do the job.
Even that Gorilla only really realistically landing 2 shells here.
Of which one was on Kurit?
Of which one was on Kurit, so effective damage onto their 10 tanks, only 700.
I really don't feel like that tank has a real place in defense on Himmelsdorf. It's just too soft.
Yeah, the Gorilla we've talked about this before, it can't pick any corners.
Can't do anything without getting punished. So all you can do with that tank is shoot from really big distance and relocate. And if you don't have that distance, you're getting focused instant.
Even those 215Bs with Hesh going straight through. But let's take a look at the lineups as we move into our second round here between these two. And we can see DiNG bringing out the FV 4005. Now the question is, who's going to play it for DiNG? Swift as well, actually.
You should have a better insight than anyone in DiNG.
Well, in my opinion, it's either going to be Shokish. I know Shokish likes to play it, right? I know Shokish likes to play it, but it's either break on the Bachat and positive on the FV 4005, or the other way around. One of those two. That's what at least that's how it should be.
For Swift, we honestly don't know.
I'm expecting, actually, thinking about it, it's not going to be Skylax, but it's going to be Crespix. But let's see here as both teams are ready. Let's get it underway. DiNG currently 1-0 up on Himmelsdorf as they're now on the defensive side. You can see here it is positive.
And Mersky. 0 out of 0.
Whoa, I said it was either going to be positive or break.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. We can rewatch the VOD later, Mojo.
Yes, we can, because it's still Shokish.
No, I said Shokish likes to play it, but it's going to be either break or positive.
No, you're wrong. Anyways, really aggressive approach from DiNG, going to the center immediately with that Bachat to cut off the 8 line, while the rest is covering from the rail. They will have a crossfire and they will be able to cover him instant. Previously, it was usually played actually by a light tank, but Kurit is spotting the rail at this moment, so this is a really spread out tactic by them.
Yeah, Road has to be careful here, but so does Mary, as most of Swift is waiting around that corner, and if he peeks too far, he could be punished very heavily. But both teams starting off fairly standard. We can see Mersky there in that FVTD, trying to watch to the K line for now. Somebody peeks there, it's going to be a bad day for them. But we can already see the rotation. Marakar in the A6, just spotting the hill and breaking positive, and even Hulknik now starting to relocate as DiNG has control over that south side.
Well, Swift is really taking it easy. They are just measuring their odds. Where should they go? I guess they're communicating now where will they actually attack.
Mary here getting a nice angle onto Road, though, who got caught out a little bit. Mary landing a second shot. He should be able to pick him up, and Mary...
really good pickup.
Mary, great rotation there, coming around from the other side. You could see he couldn't do the other angle because Swift was waiting there, but came around, peeked from the other angle, and Road now down in that 1390. That is pretty bad for Swift at this point, as that 3090, he's your capper. Mersky here gets spotted by Kurit, takes 1 shot, doesn't manage to land it, so DiNG has a really good read on to what Swift is doing right now.
This is a really big pickup by Mary, and it came for free, so Swift had no coverage on Road. Road should have actually run away much earlier, because he should know there is no one covering him from 8th Street or anywhere else. So now they don't have eyes. They can use a Bachat for spotting now, but that's kind of a bad spot because, hey, he's not a light tank and he can be shot for a lot, especially since DiNG has FVTD and they know he will aim the hill.
The question is, who do they put on the cap?
Who to put on a cap now? That's pretty much It's pretty much a hardcore choice now, because from these tanks they have here, it will have to be probably a budget. And it's a big sacrifice then, because there is no rotation force.
Mary looked like he wants to go to the hill there for a second, but decided otherwise, as Swift is still not sure what to do at this point. You know, losing that 30-90, it might seem like a small thing, but in reality, it's a very crucial part of this lineup. He's the spotter, he's the capper. Losing him puts them in a pretty bad situation here, and DiNG full control over pretty much the entire map at this point. They still have the D-line under control. They're also spotting the hill. Kreese is spotting what comes in the south, and what can Swift do against this?
Swift need to gather up forces here and actually press one side. They have no choice. The main issue with them at the moment is because they will be spotted no matter what they do. If they want to control the hill, they need to chase away Breakneck and then leave one guy to spot and then push either rail side or the top side. Rail side is a huge risk, so I guess it will be the hill.
Does look like they're leaving a few tanks in a sort of trap here on the southern side. Maybe trying to catch Shockish off, but the entirety of DiNG rotating towards the northern side of the map here, only leaving Shockish in that position there. And if Swift does decide to come down with those 3 tanks, they could be in a world of hurt.
I believe DiNG is actually just doing correct choices. Kuric is covering again, spotting the 8th street, and Shockish is covering the south. I think they're just making calls based on the hunches, based on trained hunches, and unless Swift does something really lunatic, this is all good.
Yeah, Maracas should be spotting Swift as they come by here, and Positive is also waiting together with Mary and Break. And the first person from Swift to peek here could pretty much disappear in a second here. Maracas misses the shell, but Mikhailov doesn't spot the other guys as now Atmospheric is going, and does he take a shell here? Oh! Takes 1.5k spotting on the takes 1.5k damage on the crossing. Lucky there not to get penetrated by that FVTD, as now Mikhailov taking a little bit of damage here, and it's not looking good for Swift at this point. Already 4k HP down. Mojo and even Creed spotting that entire south rotation. DiNG can do whatever they want now. They're in such a good position.
Push them and finish the game in next 1 minute because of this. If they know how many tanks are down, I don't think actually Kuric managed to spot them all. But if he does see all 3 of them, it will be exactly like in the last game. They will just push straight on these guys and finish them off.
We can see Mary going to go join Kuric. Shockish as well in that 1-1-3. Very quick in rotating, and Swift only 4 minutes 50 seconds on the clock here. They have to be careful as they're 4k HP down. They have no positions in reality, no positional control at all.
And no real knowledge where the enemy is.
No real knowledge where DiNG is, and those guys in B0 can't go anywhere. Maracas is waiting on one side, Break and Positive are waiting on the other.
Yeah, this is a pretty bad situation, and they need to communicate this fast, honestly. Atmospheric already doesn't have a commander. He's low HP, so I would say even angling for him is not an option at the moment to try to provoke something. DiNG has all the positions they need to control and see any kind of movement on the map. Any kind of united movement from Swift will actually be just dealt with more damage done, because FVTD is waiting for anyone to peek on that road on B-line.
Even Hulk now starting to rotate more towards that 1-2 line, but Shockish is spotting the D line. Mary is spotting the 8 line. Kreese is spotting the south. There's almost nowhere they can go and get out. Break now does get spotted, but he knows that Mary is covering his side, so nobody else from those other 3 tanks from Swift able to come through that 8 line bit and get him in the side. And now Hulknik here as well, and if Mannax and Crespix do go for this, it's not looking good.
Okay guys, check out how DiNG is well responding to spotting. Like, spotting in any kind of World of Tanks games is a crucial thing. So Kuric is giving them info, how many enemies is where. They're waging their chances. They're not interested in some suicidal push. They're just protecting their borders and making sure that if Swift chooses to push somewhere, they take big punishment. So that's why they're rotating so many tanks up and down every time.
Mursky now in the FE4005, moving down the 8 line, could maybe catch Break by surprise, but no. Shockish on the D line waiting there already, and Break starting to reverse, and the only thing that happened is Mursky taking some more damage here, and Swift, it does look like that final play will be that B to D line, but DiNG has such good positions and so much HP. It's just not going to go well.
When you are spotted, and when enemy knows where you are, and when you push, you know it's a last desperation moment. So it will be, maybe they will just hope now for some RNGs and better focus fire.
They better start praying right now because it's not looking good here as Skylex takes a big hit as well, 858 off of that. And Mandex taking shots here, and Break is the first person on DiNG to receive damage. 7 minutes 40 seconds into the game, Breakneck takes the first damage from DiNG.
This is really... DiNG is really not in mercy business here. They're really like a machine. Yeah, that's what they remind me on now. Everything is really well oiled and trained.
Creeds has transformed this team that struggled a little bit into a really well-oiled machine, and you can just see the amount of control they have with 2 minutes left. Swift, they're cornered, they can't go anywhere, they can start capping. Mirsky can do some damage to Marakar, yes, but can they kill him? Probably no.
Well, Himmelsdorf was always traditionally the best map played by the Russian teams, something that EU teams used to avoid playing against them if they can. You could speculate that most of these people are from that origin, but definitely DiNG has an upper hand here and a better playstyle.
Here Marakar dropping a little bit low though, but still so much HP in the favor of DiNG, and with 1 minute and 23 seconds left on the cap, they need to start capping within now and 40 seconds to even have a chance to win the round, as Mirsky
Nice
does
take
pick up
by the
Marakar,
team.
and now the cap must start, but it's so late into the round. Can this even work, Mojo? Oh, Mandex takes a big hit as well. Doesn't look good at all.
I don't see this finishing anyway well for them. I mean, this is a desperation movement. It's last 60 seconds. Anyone who will reset, and Kuric is still alive, guys, on one shot, but they just need to reset and him to survive for this to work. And we will not even mention the 3000 HP advantage and all the kind of modules and crew members alive or dead.
Yeah, still, both teams having 6 players alive, but now 40 seconds are over. There's no possible chance to win anymore for Swift unless they kill everybody. So any damage done here is pretty irrelevant at this point, as DiNG does come in and picks up Mirsky in at FVTD, and Mary on 2 shells. Probably gonna go pick up Skylex, but as we said, any damage at this point, it's just extra. It looks good on the statistics. Once you get past the 40-second mark and there's nobody on the cap, it is over.
It's well over, guys, but it's only the first map, Himmelsdorf, and we will have plenty to see between these two more.
DiNG looking very solid here, as it's just Crespix left and getting pounced on by everybody from DiNG. And Shockish, no, it's actually positive in the FVTD, managing to pick it up, and now DiNG 2-0 up against Swift. 2 very long rounds, but twice DiNG full control.
Full control, only interested in victory, not rushing anywhere, really steady play. I liked it, honestly.
Very methodical play, reacting to every spot. That's Kuritz's play style. That's how he goes. He sees a spot, he reacts, he counters, and sends the correct amount of tanks to each side. And you could just see Mary picking up Road in the beginning of the round there, and after that, didn't seem like Swift had any answers.
That was Rode's mistake in that moment, and Mary's good play. So after that, they lost eyes. They tried some rotations, but everywhere they went, DiNG already had map control and upper hand.
You can see here Mary, it's a finishing shot on Road there. Mirsky does pick up Marakar, but at that point, you could just see the clock. It was so low. Not really anything to be done there for Swift, as they held off way too long with their push.
What will you see next here? Ghost Town?
Ghost Town will be our next map, Mojo, but at this point, DiNG look really solid, really scary actually, as well, the amount of control and smart plays.
Well, we said before, it was a good map always for Wombat. Even DiNG played it well previously, so they had a high victory rate there. So actually, Himmel was not good for them in the season, but later, yes. And there is no reason to drop out of that scenario in the future.
Take a look at the stats here and see exactly the players from DiNG that managed to push their team across the victory line. And you can see there, Break, Positive, Mary, top 3 damage dealers.
Pretty standard for them, I would say. Crespix and Mersky doing decent in these tanks. I would not say for FVTD 2000 HP something special. Honestly, you expect them to do at least 3 to 4k.
You can do the 2k in one shot, so...
Literally, if it's aimed well, you can just penetrate anyone.
There we see it though, Road, 0 damage, Atmospheric, 392, both rounds Atmospheric. Another great performance. He was the first one to take all the damage here, lost his loader. Pretty useless at that point.
Pretty much.
Other than that, not much to note here. Marakar a little bit low damage, but DiNG was in control the entire time. Now 2-0 up. It looks like both DiNG and Kazna crew wanting to start their season off pretty strong.
Pretty decisive play. I really like Himmelserv play by DiNG here because this is a strong base for them. And also they didn't have to do any special tactics. They just relied on player skills, and it worked out well for them.
I think we're going to be seeing the DiNG special tactics once they play, for example, against Kazna crew. Well, let's take a look at the lineups and see what both teams have planned for us. Moving into Ghost Town here, you can see DiNG obviously adapted to the meta. A 5120 actually coming out, and not a tier 9 batch at Mojo.
It's quite interesting, but they are here, I think, on defensive side, so they kind of makes sense, because if the enemy comes point blank, you want some of the meat to have to stop them, and 113s are pretty decent for that also.
On the other side, those Swift. There's 3 FE215Bs for DPM, then 250Bs, and actually an AMX 5100.
Yeah, that's I've seen it used more than once, because that tank can do
a lot of damage.
Yeah, he can do a lot of damage. It's a really good gun. It's actually a gun used on that tier 9 budget. But the problem with 5100, when it does it, it usually dies instant, because it's big, it's not that fast enough, and it cannot rotate that fast compared to the other tier 10 tanks. So it's usually one-way street. It's usually used just as a, let's say, a guy that sits behind the building and waits for someone to shoot in a flank. And then what happens, happens.
Let's see how Swift decides to use his AMX 5100 as DiNG currently up 2-0. Can they extend their lead, or is Swift gonna mount a comeback? Let's take a look as we move into Ghost Town.
Ghost Town. The first absolutely symmetrical map made especially for 7 versus 7 games. The teams start the battle on opposite sides. There are numerous ways to attack here. One of the bases is located in the central square, the other one at the top of the city. The hardest battles are usually fought for the top base, and this calls for the use of heavy tanks. Sometimes the teams choose fast tanks for spotting and base capturing.
So we can see here DiNG with those 113s, very split defense, already still sending positive towards that A4 position. No real surprises there.
This is a really standard. Pachat is going down on the south to spot positive in his 113 is in a hold down position on A4. They do not gamble with some Ru on a hill trying to decap. Halknik is in his 113 angling. This is usually position you use with FE heavy because of the better DPM, but entire Swift team is positioned actually on the south side.
Mandax already losing his gun there. Very annoying for the FE215B. Losing his gun first shell. One of the most annoying things to deal with. And the entire team from Swift already getting spotted here. Crest Peaks doesn't take a shell.
Koritz is actually playing on heavy tank now, T10. But look at the response. Immediately as Koritz spotted where majority of Swift guys are and Breakneck, the rotation is already in place.
Breakneck needs to get out of here though, as Crest Peaks, when he decides to move in, could do a lot of damage to him. He's one shell down, so has to move out. Breakneck repositioning. See the experience there, realizes he can't take the fight anymore, will reposition towards C1 and spot that entire area from there, but rotation from DiNG, pretty normal, now taking control over the entire D-line section of the map as Swift took control of the south side of the map.
Positive is even blind firing guys, so he could trigger a 6th sense if something is hidden there, but he will know by now that there is nothing spotting them and that Swift actually moved on further down. But everything so far is good for DiNG because time is passing and they've lost a little HP on Breakneck, nothing significant, and they are all together, so they cannot be pushed anywhere.
DiNG even giving up that 1-2 line, it's not the worst of ideas. Probably sending Break towards that 0 line to control that side, and then moving towards the 6-7 line if Swift does decide to trigger the cap. So they get a lot of angles on the capture circle. It's harder to cap if Swift comes from that side than if they were on DiNG's side. So DiNG still in a fairly good position here. You can see Crest Peaks now taking the 1 line where Breakneck left, and the rest of Swift starting to move towards that 4 line slowly but surely, but a lot of players of DiNG waiting there if they peek that corner.
They're also probably wondering where the DiNG is exactly by now, because they don't see them and they don't have anyone spotted. Breakneck, of course, can even rotate and start decapping if needed from the other side, because the 2-cap is heavily susceptible to that. There are certain angles you can take from any kind of the map and decap.
Yeah, Break trying to get up on that A8 position there, elevated position, but the entirety of Swift now coming towards that D line, but DiNG is prepared for this. Only Breakneck has to be careful there as Crest Peaks will spot out Breakneck and has to move safe here.
Breakneck's position there is crucial only for one thing. He is actually trying to cover positive, so positive doesn't get caught by some silly push from B line. And he must give him info, because in that case he must push forward and join the rest of the tanks. But positive is now pulling back, so he doesn't become a solo target for DiNG.
Yeah, Team Swift trying to catch anybody off guard there, but not really finding anything so far, and now sending a 3-man Wolfpack around that south side of the map. Maybe trying to flank around DiNG, but Koritz, you can see in that T10, should be able to spot that as soon as they cross. There is a gap there between the 7 and the 8 line. He should be able to spot through. So again, this rotation from Swift should be read by DiNG.
Remember, guys, when Mrakar was giving an interview, he did mention that Koritz is a man of details, and that they never had actually a vision before how depth of those details are. And you can see by positions on these tanks how covered they are. They are covering every possible angles that they think Swift can come from, and they have multiple guns on some certain corners where people can appear.
There we go. Skylax takes the first hit. Koritz here in that T10, not allowing anybody to cross. So positive spots the C line, right? Can't come from there. He has that completely covered. Koritz spots the 8 line. Break spots the 0 line. Swift cannot surprise DiNG here. They are staying as a unit together. No matter where Swift goes, they will always meet at least 4 tanks of DiNG.
Well, surprise is definitely not an option here, so it will have to be a full-out brawl. There is not enough gunpowder there to go and chase out on Breakneck, I think, in his budget. If Rode, definitely not, but Crespix tries, he will be shot by some guys.
Tori is also having a damage gun on F50B. A lot of module damage here in the beginning of the round. A lot of repair kits that are going to be lost with that.
That means they're just snap shooting and hitting whatever they can, and he will definitely not use a repair kit for that. He will wait for something else to be damaged.
Koritz here in that T10, outplaying a lot of players from Swift here, as you know, Koritz leading and playing pretty well at the same time. You can see the bounce of the T10 turret, not going to penetrate that from that angle, only takeable by the top part, but still. This does not look good for Swift again. We're 6 minutes and 20 seconds almost into the round, and rotation, they can rotate wherever they want. DiNG will have it covered.
Rotation number 3 is in place now. Positive is already waiting on that side. Like, it's not really big deal to understand what DiNG is doing here, but we will see. Maybe Swift has a plan how to try to crack this nut.
We're gonna have to see what the plan is from Swift. Maybe triggering the cap as they are doing now with Atmospheric behind the crane, then keeping Road, Skylax, those 50Bs there, waiting for DiNG to cross, and if they do cross, taking them out. Does look like that's going to be the plan here. Atmospheric, Mikhailov on the clan, on the cap, Skylax and Mirsky there waiting, but if DiNG realize this, they could just push out onto those 50Bs.
They definitely are realizing that, and there you go. There is rotation by Mary and Positive from the low, and these guys from the center. Skylax is really falling apart here. Another 50p will not bode well.
Yeah, Mirsky and Skylax here taking a lot of damage. Road going down in that 5100. We talked about how squishy it is, and DiNG, yes, a little bit down on HP, but they still have the gun advantage, and Atmospheric on that capture circle now has to go save, as Shokashin at 5120 also has to be careful, and DiNG shouldn't overcommit here. They have reset at the base. Still 31 seconds left, and coming out of rotation, coming out of Atmospheric, taking a little bit more damage, but Mojo still DiNG looking okay for now.
30 seconds for experienced team like DiNG on a cap is eternity. It's not even a measure of pressure. Also, we should not forget Skylax actually has damaged Amorex, so that means he's still probably in reload.
Yeah, Breakneck now going onto the fight with Crespix, and Crespix seems to be losing that as Oknik picks up Mirsky, but Mandex picks up Shokus in return, but at 5120 didn't have any shells left anymore, and Mikhailov is the next one on the focus board as all the kills are coming out from DiNG right now, and it's just Mandex and Atmospheric here left as DiNG is going to be picking up their third round. It's just Mandex left in that FE215B, and in 30 seconds or less, DiNG managed to pick up 5 or more kills and close out this round. Again, another round, DiNG in full control, and Swift not working out as Breakneck as Breakneck breaks his neck.
Oh, he tries. Oh my god, and it actually looked like that.
So now DiNG being 3-0 up against Swift again. Swift can rotate whatever they want. DiNG had everything covered, and I feel it was a mistake. Skylax moving forward there. I think they should have been where Road was, waiting for DiNG to come out of the gap. Instead, Mary and Positive got easy side shots.
The main problem is DiNG looked prepared for any kind of possibility, and they were just measuring how many tanks they have to send somewhere. So Swift definitely had no response to anything here. For my side again, I can say I liked because they did not panic. They tried to rotate several times. They tried to catch someone of DiNG alone and maybe do some of advantage, but it just didn't. They're just not giving anything. DiNG is just not giving any gifts.
It's a very different style than
Not a very giving team.
It's not a very giving team. As we look at some of the highlights here from that last round, you can see still 6 guys alive for Swift at this point. And then they start dropping one by one. DiNG just picks up 5 kills in just seconds. You can see there the kill feed all in favor of DiNG. Nothing Swift can do.
No, this is absolute domination so far by DiNG. And I cannot even say Swift is playing bad. They're not. They're playing decent, quite decent, but DiNG is just too strong at the moment.
DiNG does seem to be on point here in their first match of the season. And it's a very different style than we've seen so far from a lot of the other teams. DiNG, very slow, very methodical. And take a look at the stats. But very slow and methodical here coming out from DiNG.
Oh, Mendrik's actually on first spot here, but Korit in his team.
Korit! Korit's not known for his damage dealing ability.
Yeah, but he was in really decent position as a spotter there to give good shots from hold down position, and he didn't take any damage back.
Very Skylex. I'm expecting more from him in this match. Only 1.9 coming out from him, well, 2K. I honestly expecting way more from him.
It's interesting for me that Mrakar, who used to play constantly a light tank for DiNG, actually performs pretty decent now on tier 10.
Yeah, but Kurit's coming into the lineup. He's always going to play that tier 9, tier 8 role, except for example when there's going to be artillery used.
Who will play artillery now in their lineup? What do you think?
Meritorious.
Merivale? Not. I mean, Diplo is kind of a person who was playing it all the time.
Merivale.
Okay, we're gonna look forward to see how he
99%
performs.
sure Meritorious will play the artillery piece. And then Kurit's does move into a tier 10, but Crespix, Rode, Mirsky, Mikhailov, it's not good enough in terms of damage. 1.2k, it's not a lot.
It's not even about the damage anymore, it's about positioning. DiNG was in such superior positions, and when they decided to push, they were again in better positions and numbers. Every choice they make is just superior.
Like we said, it didn't matter where they rotated. DiNG always had spotters spotting every single side and always had 4 or 5 tanks ready to pounce on whatever Swift decided to do.
It like reminds a bit on a seasoned boxer. He's just covering his angles well.
That's good. DiNG definitely covering their angles well, and it's starting to look a little bit like a landslide here as now 3-0 up. Looked promising in the beginning for Swift, but going downhill so far.
Well, they're on defense side now. I'm really interested to see actually will DiNG try to perform something fast, or they will just go steady as in all these games, because so far they're playing like a python, like strangling Swift slowly.
strangling Swift to death here. Kurit's, they could do something quick, but we'll have to see. We do have our lineups ready, so let's take a look if DiNG is going to go for the more slow and methodical style or something fast. This could be pretty fast. I mean, i7, 113, and T10 tells to me they want to get to the 1 cap.
Yeah, they can definitely put them in a cap and protect them with these clippers they have, because they have 4 clippers all around. On other hand, from Swift, pretty standard lineup made for kind of angling and defending that cap.
Yeah, Swift's lineup just covering all bases pretty much.
There is nothing to say here. There is nothing out of the order in these lineups. It's pretty standard. It's pretty balanced. We need to wait a game to see actually what the teams want to do with it.
Waiting for the teams to get ready here, but
especially since they have a Ru and a Bachat. Bachat will cover south. Ru will cover the north. He will climb up to try to decap.
Very standard. And 113 could go to A4, for example, and the hold down. The FE215Bs hold the D line, and then the 50Bs rotate in between. And for DiNG, that I7 and 113 and T10 kind of tells that they want to go to 1 cap, but it does seem like our teams are ready. Can DiNG get it into match point, or is Swift going to come back as we move into our 4th round here on Ghost Town?
Bachat going down, as we said. Ru is actually doing an aggressive spot in the city. Well, we've seen it once before, and it almost ended on Grand Finals on Collision.
Almost ended up Collision. And as we were saying before, that lineup from DiNG, you can see Rode lining up the boost here. Let's see if he can make it. This is the new way to get up on that mountain, as the B1 is no longer accessible, and you can see here the angle he takes. And
yeah, you've seen it yesterday done
does
by,
get up,
I think it was KB. 2 days ago actually, but Mikhailov is in front of him in A4, so he's a double cover. But there is a big rotation from them from the south of the city, and they're spotted, and DiNG knows it. They're spotted, and they're split up again.
Yeah, DiNG just seems to now go fully aggressive mode as Kurit, Mrakar, Hulk, and Shokish want to catch Atmospheric out here again. the guy that's been very unlucky so far. They do take a lot of damage here on the crossing, but Mikhailov in that 1-1-3 gets absolutely wrecked by those 50 Bs, and the aggression coming out from DiNG. This is something we haven't expected. Now Road as well in that RU251, taking a lot of damage, goes down to Breakneck, and DiNG in less than a minute, 2 tanks advantage already. The HP is even, but the gun in the game is definitely in favor for them, as Swift now has to reset and see what they can do about this.
This is an opportunity Swift handed over to them. They were really split up all over the map, tried to do some kind of fast rotation, but as DiNG was covering all the bases well, they saw them and they reacted instant. There was no, oh, shall we do this or that? No, they just went for it immediately.
Mandax and Atmospheric are going to be in a lot of trouble here, as Positive and Breakneck are coming around that corner. And if they manage to line up the side shot, it'll be pretty bad for them now. Marakar and Hulk starting to rotate as well, and these guys are going to have to be careful. The Crespix taking some damage as well. Taking some more damage from Breakneck even. Definitely better trades from Break coming out here, but seems like the game has slowed down just a little bit, as DiNG is preparing maybe for their final push.
DiNG is now just reloading and talking how to, well, finish off the game, honestly, because they're 2 KHP up and 2 tanks up.
You see the damage spread between DiNG. Everybody taking damage here, nobody being left out. Skylex does manage to do a nice clip onto Hulknik, landing 3 shells there. Bringing the HP still 2k though, and Break now starting to rotate around, as he knows that Crespix is not a real challenge in this anymore. Mirsky a 1-shot, Skylex a 1-shot, Crespix a 2-shot, and Manlex and Atmospheric are making a push here onto Koreets, but still have to be careful doing that, as now Break picks up Crespix and DiNG is starting to come from all sides.
I'm really surprised that actually Shokish kept this shot for so long. He would be reloaded by now, but I guess he tried to just cover his teammate. But still, all 7 DiNG guys are alive. And it doesn't matter how low HP, they're still alive, guys. Come on, you gotta respect that.
Every single player from DiNG is still alive at this point. It's just Skylex, and he might be able to pick up Breakneck here, as he doesn't. And Positive is going to be the one to pick it up, and that brings DiNG onto match point now. We're talking about how DiNG might be going aggressive, and that's exactly what he did, reading the strategy.
It was an opportunity. It was not a strategy from the start. They just saw an opening and used it instantly. It was just a mistake by Swift.
Mistakes from Swift here. We've seen this before, this kind of push. Mikhailov, yes, that A4 position, it is strong hold down, but once those 50 Bs cross that gap, he's no longer hold down.
They would never push like that if actually Swift tanks were grouped up. They tried to do something cheesy and push all the tanks down, maybe take off DiNG from the back, which is a nonsense because they were grouped up instantly. They saw it, they just pushed in, took some damage on the way, fine, and then 7 on 1 or 2.
Could see their Road and Mikhailov instantly going down.
Left alone, completely.
7 versus 5 at that point. And that's where we have to give credit to DiNG, not overcommitting, playing it slow from then on, getting the rotations on, catching Swift everywhere, as you can see
they're
here.
Taking this season really seriously. You can see it. Like you can see it here. Like they're really brutally effective, like I've never seen them before. Like they were a really good team before, but this is another level.
Feels like Koreets has made this team that was already good before into a well-oiled machine, prepared for anything Swift has been throwing at them so far. Seem to have a response to everything.
Yes, Swift, again, I can say they're not playing bad, but DiNG is just too much, too high up for them at the moment.
Do we think they're going to be able to come back in our next map? Let's take a look at the stats, and pretty sure it's going to be pretty evenly balanced between the guys from DiNG, as you can see.
Skylex actually did the top damage on this map. That's quite surprising. He did 3 full clips.
Managed to get some good clips on the side there, onto Mary and
yes, that
such.
was initial, and then in next part of the fight. So finally, a good performance by him. And Koreets, a top damage dealer again. Is this broken? Something wrong with these graphics?
Must be a bug. Koreets doing 2.9k damage. Something we don't expect from him, as it's very hard to lead and play at the same time.
If he's gonna be after these guys, I need a raise. Like I'm leading you and I have to actually shoot at them. Like what? It's not right.
You can see there Mikhailov, only 1 shell, and then Crespix staying alive much longer, but still only 357. Road and our RU, nothing to be done.
Mikhailov and Road really had no choice and no say in this. They were like, oh my god, the Horde is here.
The Horde is here, as DiNG coming out of... This is now pretty scary to watch for other teams, for example, because DiNG has shown that they can play very slow and methodical, but can also go full aggressive if needed.
Definitely, this is the worst case scenario when you're fighting someone, because you're playing a sentient team that can really think about everything on a map, react well, cover all the angles, and react and counterattack whenever they want. So Not really cool when you have to face them, but really nice for us to watch.
Pretty nice for us to watch, as we can see absolute dominance from DiNG in a different style than we've seen before. First coming out slow and methodical, and now full aggression coming out. Mojo, does it look is there anything that Swift can do coming into our next map?
It's Prohorovka, maybe some EL gaming style. No, it didn't
Ooh.
work. It doesn't work anymore.
It doesn't work anymore. What does we keep talking about this, but 3-0 down, 4-0 down against a team like DiNG. Kuric is very not known to throw situations like this.
I would not say he is known for taking the games back, not to throw them like this. So no, I really don't see a way out of this. Even if they slip up and maybe lose one game, the next one will cover the map, I would say.
Not looking good for Swift here at this point. As a fairly common lineup here, a lot of bad shots being featured. No tier 9 bad shots coming out from either of these teams so far. So 1-1-3, E5, and for Swift, the I7 and the 1-1-3. Fairly standard, Mojo, wouldn't you say? I'm still not a fan of TVP on Prokorovka, but it's just my opinion.
Honestly, I don't like it either because it's too optional. How will you use it?
Too inaccurate on long range.
Maybe sometimes on defense you can use one because he is good to cover a heavy from the back, but that's about that. In here we should see DiNG in defense, 1-1-3 and E5, pretty good, decent cooldown tanks, and they can control the area while they're using Pachats and Ru to spot elsewhere. It tells me, honestly, they will not even maybe cross rail. Maybe they will just try to play the middle a bit.
They might be able to play that middle, but at I7 and 1-1-3, looks like they're just going to play on that mountainside, waiting for somebody to come into the cap. But it does look like our game is ready. Can DiNG close out this match, or is Swift going to mount a comeback? Let's find out as we move into Prokorovka. Here we go. DiNG currently on match point. Looking like most of them moving towards that 6-7 line. Fairly, not fairly aggressive here, but a fairly standard start coming out from Swift. Sending Mikhailov to spot, and rest of the team pretty much moving towards the 1 line.
DiNG sending a spotter in the middle. Kuric, really ultra aggressive spot. He's trying to make sure he's spotting them. Rhodes got spotted, and so he cannot really go in the woods offensively. Heavy tanks taking the hold down, but they seem to be a bit left off. If really Swift pushes hardcore, they can actually gain shots on them.
I have to see, but DiNG, Swift not having shown that ultra aggressive style so far, so Mary should be okay there in that heavy as
Mrakar is already safe and he already crossed. That's the part where the light tank got chased away, so he actually didn't see him crossing on time. And a really slow approach by Swift. They're really careful and scared even.
Very similar to what Kazna crew was bringing out there in the first round. You can just see DiNG already taking full control over the 6-7 line and sending Mandax in at I7 first. If you're wondering why they send the I7 first, it's because if you send the I7 first and DiNG is waiting in B2, as we see a lot of teams do, but a spotter in E1, there's a big chance they won't penetrate all the shells on the I7, after which all their autoloaders will come down and kill their autoloaders. But as we can see as spectators, nobody from DiNG there at the moment.
Also, we can see an interesting trivia there. What DiNG now did and taking control of the hill like that with pushing parallel from down is something that Kazna used to do a while ago against a certain Russian team. And it actually worked.
And it actually worked. But DiNG here, still in good control. Mary and Mrakar should be able to control that capture circle. Same positioning as Legend. Same positioning from Legend there, Mrakar. Let's see if he has a better time.
Same positioning, different players.
Different
players. Maybe less greedy STBs.
Well, they have an E5 instead of the STB. A better choice. Very hard to hit that cupola on longer ranges.
And he's together with 1-1-3, so they can actually cover each other and pick from different angles.
And he might not take 1.6k damage in the beginning.
Definitely.
See here, Break has to be kind of careful doing this. But Break, the kind of player not to get caught out like this. So for now, Swift slowly taking control over that 1-2 line, deciding what they're going to do. Crespix here trying to see whatever he can see, but nobody from DiNG picking up high enough at the moment.
Honestly, 2 minutes in a game and DiNG already covered all the bases they wanted. They already got information they wanted. They know where DiNG is. I mean, Swift is, so they're now just waiting. And everything is up to the Swift. How will they do their rotations and what will they do? Kuric is spotting down on a rail. It doesn't really matter anything. He's on the safe side. It's just an info.
Mandex now starting off that capture circle. Has to be careful here as Mary and Morocco could peek from two sides onto him and put a lot of pain onto that IS-7, especially Mary coming from behind. Does land the first shell, so it's going to be pretty bad for Manlax at this position. You can see Mary has a rock to cover him. Morocco are peeking from one side, Mary
And
peeking
again.
from the other side. Manlax is completely stuck in between these two guys, and Mary is going to have a field day picking him up. Swift has to come with a reaction. Just going to lose this IS-7 for free as Mary lands another shell. Takes 626 in return now, so landing a nice amount of damage. Should probably wait a little bit with peeking again, as now the entirety of Swift is ready for that. We can just see that rock there covering him completely as he was peeking over.
Bresky is trying to climb a position that even Ilian was using before, if you remember, to deal with that 1-1-3, where Mrakar is now, but their real problem is that E5. Also, we can see tanks from DiNG are actually balling up together in as mediums.
Yeah, Kurit's already taken that H5 position fairly a lot better than what Legend did there. Kurit's just checking what he can see. Might even be able to spot that TVP if he's not in the bushes, but it does seem like he has road there, control of that side as well. So DiNG actually moving across the F line now, and it's going to be playing a little bit into the favor of Swift as they were just rotating towards the same side.
And they're spotted by Rode now, they know it, but this is still aggression push because Crespix and Mandrake are out of the fight completely. Mrakar can choose where to go, and he will probably choose to join the medians.
Mirsky gets spotted here, he needs to get out, dodges a lot of shells here as those bad shots from DiNG starting to take a lot of damage here. Breakneck dropping fairly low, Positive as well now. Skylegs from the bushes, and Swift in a pretty good advantage here as Positive goes down to a one-shot. Road picks up Positive here, Morocco does take that Manlegs, but just looking at the HP, Swift actually having a first real advantage.
This is not looking at the moment really good for DiNG, because I even don't understand why they pushed, because they had such a huge advantage. Did they just want to close the match prematurely?
DiNG getting a little bit over eager here and getting punished for it as now Kurit drops low as well, and Shokish tries to get out of there, but Break is getting bounced off. Ooh, Mikhailov taking a lot of damage here as well, but still, look at the HP just so massively in favor of Swift as doesn't look like they're done yet. They want to get back into this match just as well. Break on reload now. Atmospheric should be able to pick him up, and it looks like Swift actually able to come back.
Yeah, they will probably even pick up this round, but it is purely mistake of DiNG and a bad call. Why would Koritz do something like that? Just to give them a round?
Not sure what went through there with DiNG. A little bit of miscommunication. Lucky timing as well coming out from Swift. Exactly when they decided to push those bad shots from Swift, moving down that one line and catching them off. As Murray is now the last guy standing, and nothing he can do here as Mersky picks him up, and that will bring the score 4-1, still in favor of DiNG, but
Finally round for Swift.
not the greatest of pushes there for DiNG.
Yeah, I just can say again, I really don't understand why the push even came, because they had everything they needed. They had those two guys in good positions. Swift was in no position to threaten them in any way. They could not cap. I mean, I guess Koritz thought he saw an opening, that they're stuck on one side, but you don't have to use it every time. But even the best make the mistakes.
A little bit of over-eagerness there coming out from DiNG. Had full control up until that point as well, though Mary and Marakar had that
They had
cap
an
on the
absolute
lockdown.
dominance on a map. There was no reason for this whatsoever. Purely mistake.
So DiNG not going flawless though, dropping one round here,
Ray of hope for everyone. Ray of sunshine.
which is good for me, seeing as Break is on my fantasy team, and I desperately need him to do some more damage.
Yeah, me too. Go Break.
Oh, look! I looked through it, and it looked like everybody had Break on their
I think
fantasy
like
team.
it's like when you pick a player, it's a break, and then you watch else.
Let's look at stats and see if Break is giving me the points, or I'm going to have to be disappointed, as it looks like I'm going to have to be disappointed.
Yeah, since I'm a shorter guy, I had to lift my head to find where Break is. Oh my god.
I think I have Crespix as well, actually.
Yeah. Crespix is an unknown, but he did really good this game, and Atmospheric finally doing some damage.
Lucky for him, as he not been having the best of performances here. Always almost the first one to go down, but Manlax in that IS-7 and Positive, both 0 damage. Not a real surprise that IS-7 doing so little. Got caught off guard pretty hard.
Yeah, Positive was focused first. He didn't even have an opportunity to shoot. Mrakar, I actually expected more from that 1-1-3.
Expected more from that 1-1-3 as well. Kuritz and Road pretty similar, but that's about all that there is to know in stats. Damage evenly spread between Swift and DiNG, but now DiNG having to play another round, giving a little bit more information to the other teams as we take a look at our lineups for the next round, Mojo.
Yeah, they're going to attack now on Prokhorovka. So let's see, DiNG 3-1-1-3s, that's pretty heavy. 3 Bachats and Ru. It's
Again,
pretty old school setup that we thought that we will actually not see anymore.
again, Swifto with that TVP. 2-1-1-3s at STB to play the rails and double Bachat. Fairly standard from both teams.
There is a high chance that DiNG will actually cross the rail and push that village side with this kind of lineup, dominating the hill with Clippers and Ru and going with 1-1-3s from the village side.
Gonna have to see how they use those 1-1-3s. I'm not sure. Going over that rails is always very hard as the offensive side. Could get caught in a crossfire pretty hard if you do that. Not the greatest fan of that.
Yes, but it can also really work if you manage to dominate the hill on the time.
Let's see if DiNG is now able to close out the match, or Swift actually managed to pick up a few more rounds as we move into our 6th round here between these two, and we can see
A sky.
Sky. Obviously a little bit of technical mistakes there.
Well,
Our
definitely
apologies.
they did not choose to cross the rail with 1-1-3s, and they're going from the woody side.
The woody side, huh?
The woody side.
So, DiNG now moving towards the woody side as the rest of Swift is crossing over the rails. A fairly common start here again. Kurit's driving towards that middle area, making a spot, sending one guy towards the 0 line to spot whoever comes on the hill, leaving maybe 1 or 2 guys on that 7 line on the rail, waiting for somebody to peek on the hill, and then Crespix driving all the way up in case somebody decides to push.
So a bunch of mediums covering the medium on the hill because he can never be left alone. Unlike Kazna, they send only 1 guy there, so he does not really risk too much, and it's easier for 1 guy to stay there and run away while the others are shooting on potential snipers. 1-1-3s are pushing, I would say, aggressive there based on Kurit's spot, and we will have to wait now to see what is their actual plan, because it looks it will evolve around pressuring the cap 1.
This bush from road was used a lot in previous formats even more. He's just in front of that little mountain there in a bush. It does spot a lot, but it's one of the most recognizable positions on Prokhorovka pretty much, as the bush he's using is very easy to predict.
Well, they will have to actually remember that it is used like that. I guess they can, since if they put guys on A2 and they permanently get spotted, there is not much you can spot them from. It's that, either that or the bush on B5.
Break still getting spotted out here on the hill. Has to be kind of careful with that, but Swift I don't think is the kind of team to push on that hill and try and take it from DiNG. So
Will they try to pull up that rage quit tactic from yesterday when they pressure the cap and then they just come behind the back and snipe them?
really wondering what the final plan here is for DiNG. Pushing those 3-1-1-3s, very split from their bad shots. If Swift would spot this, they would probably pounce on either side and try and take them down. But
Yes,
still.
but they haven't spotted a single medium yet. So there is quite some place for those 1-3s to play.
See here, Road in that bush. I think Kurit's should be smart enough to realize where he's getting spotted from. Kurit's not a man to get caught off by bushes, as he is a master of them himself.
Master of bushes, I guess he will caught on Himmelsdorf because there are none.
There's no... Well, I mean,
One or two.
technically, there are some bushes, especially in the middle area.
1 or 2.
1 or 2 more. Counting might be slightly off.
1-1-3s are gathering up in the middle, so they will join their Bachat forces. And the defensive side of the Swift, it looks like they got a hang of it, so they're gathering up too.
Swift is all in position for this, though. This could be pretty bad for DiNG at this point. Those 2 bad shots, if Breakneck manages to spot them, though, those 1-1-3s could put a lot of pain onto them. As Kuritz now gets on the cap, knows he's spotted.
He doesn't really care because there is no one to rest at him, in all honesty.
He doesn't know he's perma spotted here, though, so Road has Kuritz perma spotted as Manlax takes the first bit of damage, and Mikhailov actually being very far forward could be proven to be a mistake in that 1-1-3.
So there is kind of a cap pressure there, but actually what they are aiming for is a fight. Breakneck seems to be alone, but the Bachat, so in the back, should really cover him.
Yeah, Break getting pounced now by Mirsky and Crespix as those batches from behind not really landing the shells so far, and Mirsky still being alive. Break now pushing down, gets picked up as well by that batchat, also down to a 1-shot, but still alive, and the HP very even between these two now as Mrakar does pick up that batchat, and DiNG have to reposition now. Positive and Shockish out of ammo as well, and Mrakar, Meritorious and Hulk on that rail have to be careful. Creed's got out of there for free as well, and Positive dropping low, but still, positional advantage in favor of Swift. As I say that though, Crespix goes down as well and favor back to DiNG.
Korit will be actually a really important part of the game now. If he even gets a chance to come on a hill with his heat shell, he will really destroy them from the back. But this DiNG has an upper hand at the moment, guys, because they are better positioned and Swift is... Why is Mandrake still there on A6?
Not sure what Mandrix is doing there on A6, as Atmospheric's positioning here is pretty bad as well. Not sure why he decided to drive forward and take a lot of damage there, as Kurit should be able to pick him up now. Shokish moving in from Mikhailov as well.
Did Mandrake disconnect or something? Because it makes no sense what he's doing.
He's back in the game now. He's moving now again. Might have been a disconnect here, but it doesn't really matter anymore at this point, as only Road and Manlex left against the 6 guys from DiNG.
And it's a light tank on tier 8 and an STB single shooter against plenty of clippers and other things. Korit is also on full HP, a really unusual moment, so I guess he will be actually the one to take the lead.
Yeah, Mrakar on that 28 HP and a dead driver. Shokish also in a dead driver.
Yeah,
all the drivers went home at this point, but still, DiNG gonna slowly but surely close out this run, as Mary seems to have an idea where the STB is, and with only 2 guys left, seems like DiNG flunked a little bit in the last round, but recovering in this one.
But also I would say they had they had a bit of a luck, because if Mandrake disconnected as we think, it actually could be a game changer if he was there and shooting all the time.
Yeah, Mandrax now and then STB gets struck by Kurit, gets bounded off from all sides, and it will be Hulknik to pick him up, as DiNG now close around 5-1.
5-1. Do not take that round from the Swift. They deserved it well.
5-1.